Hey everybody, welcome back to another course preview video. This time we're out on the Lakeshore Disc Golf Complex, that is, also known as the Rat's Nest, here in lovely Spring Lake, Michigan. Only a couple of miles away from the lake here, so it's a beautiful country. Really, you got to get out and check on this course. The course has been in the ground for about 10 years, and the Rat Pack, as they're ought to be called, have done just a ton of work out here just to make sure the course is well drained. It still has some minor issues with rain, but they've done a lot of work out here. Here we see an aerial preview of hole number 1, and we've got hole 1, 274. Took a little walkthrough on this course with Scott Jr., also known as Deuce. And, one thing he had to say over and over again is just that, this course doesn't have a ton of additional OB. You play your lines, you play the correct shots, and the course will reward you. If you get a little crazy, if you get a little outside the fairway, the course will punish you. Hole 1, just a straightforward mid-range or fairway driver. Throw it and let it fade into the green. Pick yourself up a birdie and move on to 2. Hole 2, 182 feet. Now this one is what you call a hallway. Very tight tunnel here. Pine trees on both sides, and this truly is something where if you get off the fairway here, you're absolutely pitching out. Me being a AM3, my favorite play here is just to throw a mid-range, try to land it somewhere in this area, maybe slide up to circle's edge for a putt. A lot of people do go up and over to the left side on a forehand route or a lefty hyzer. And behind the green here, you do have some rock gardens that do play OB. Hole number 3, 329 feet. It was a really interesting day out here filming this. Watch this sun transition right here. Wow. Interesting thing about here, the weather in West Michigan can be sunny and icky looking one day or 1 minute. And then the next, it can just be beautiful. You can kind of see the clouds just rolling over here. But as for the hole itself, it's one of my favorite shots in disc golf. Just a big old spike hyzer. Kind of throw it up, let it ride off to the left. A good shot will get you somewhere around these bushes right here in the green. Hopefully not pinch too much behind them. Get yourself a putt. Hole number 4, 270 feet. The long grass on the right side sometimes plays as OB, depending on your layout and the tournament rules. Long grass on the left, not so much of a hazard. It's really not in play because you're not throwing in that direction. What you're going to want to do off the tee is grab your favorite mid-range with a little bit of fade or a fairway driver. Throw it sort of at this dead tree here that we're just going to buzz right on by. Hope you get lucky, honestly. There's a lot of trees in the way between you and the green, and you just want it to fade in. The green itself is on a little bit of an elevated hill, a little bit uphill. Good drive will give you a shot for 2. Otherwise, par is actually quality on a lot of these holes out here. Hole 5, 294 feet. A lot of people are going to see this hole fading to the left a little bit and think, I've got a big hyzer shot here. So they throw it above the trees on the right side. They don't really count on the wind coming over the top of the trees, and they end up getting slammed down to the right off the fairway. Ends up being a bad look. They end up getting maybe a 3, usually 4, sometimes 5. But your best bet is just to buzz the top of that short little pine tree right in the middle of the fairway. Placement shot. Hopefully skim up here to the green. 3 is a great score on this hole. Hole 626 feet. We're beginning to play around the pond on the property now. Off of this hole, it's usually not in play, but just to the right off the tee is a little bit of water. That's going to be playing as OB all the way around the pond, all the water and connected areas. But this one is just a fairly simple lefty hyzer, right hand forehand, maybe right hand backhand if you can kind of fit into this little tunnel. But it's only 126 feet. Honestly, you shouldn't get anything more than a 3 here, unless you kind of shank your drive. Just chuck one up there, get your 2 or 3, and walk away. Hole 7, 96 feet or so. Not a long hole, but a very tricky one, a very tricky line. What you kind of need to do here is make your disc bend to the left just barely and then back to the right. Make your way down toward this elevated basket rather. Going too long off of your drive is actually fairly hard to do, but if you end up somewhere in here on your putt, as you can see, the pond is real close behind the basket. Can definitely set you up for a death putt, and you'll be fishing something out like those guys in the background. Hole 8, 302 feet. The water level does change quite drastically out here depending on how recently it has rained. Water typically playing as OB on this hole. On the other side, there's a drop zone. It kind of moves around just depending on how you want to play the hole, but it's really not far to get across the pond. Most people should be able to clear it. Bend something just a little bit to the right, and you should be able to get up and down for your birdie, or par even. Again, par is not a bad score on a lot of these holes out here. -7 is around 1,000 rated. Hole 9, 247 feet. This one plays to a long left to right, sort of a little tiny bit of an anhyzer shot, but really it's just mostly straight here. You're going to want to try to throw something straight, not with a ton of fade. You definitely don't want to end up in the bushes on the left side. A lot of that stuff can definitely hold some water, so your footing will typically be poor. You won't have a pitch out. It just won't be a good time, honestly. Nice little green area, not too many obstructions in the way. Walking back through the parking lot and over to hole 10, we've got hole 10, 198 feet. This is a very fun hole, kind of a famous hole for this course, honestly. 200 feet, you can see the basket dead straight ahead of you. Grab a straight mid-range or maybe a putter if you can get her out a little further. But the key is these 2 trees we're about to fly in between, that's a double mando. You have to pass in between the 2. There's going to be a drop zone right in between the 2 of them if you miss the mando. Second hazard on this hole is right beneath this little gargoyle here. We've got a little rock garden. That plays as either OB or hazard depending on your local rules and the rules for your tournament. So you want to avoid smacking the gargoyle in the face. Get up here into your sand. Shouldn't skip too far. Get yourself a putt. Going into a little bit denser woods now. We've got hole 11, 162 feet. Bit of a tricky hole, honestly, for only being 162 feet. You're going to need to, as a right-handed person, what I like to do is throw a forehand up here, let it skip clear around this big tree on the right, and end up somewhere in the green. That should give you a putt. Hole 12, 227 feet. Basically straightforward, but there are a lot of trees in between here and there. You're really going to need to thread the needle on this one. Pull out a putter or mid One of my favorite plays is to aim straight at this tree we're just buzzing by right now. Because what are the odds you're going to hit a 3-inch wide tree that's 150 feet away from you, right? But you want to aim for it, in my opinion. Slide up in here to the green. Take your 2 or 3. Hole 13, a very similar distance, 229 feet. This one is going to be mostly straight with a little bit of a fade and finish to the left. A little bit more of an overstable mid or a fairway, depending on your arm speed. But you do want a little bit of a finish to the left on this one. Get yourself up into this area off a great drive. Slide up. Hit the field goal for your 2. Fairly easy hole out here, hole 14, 110 feet. I typically will throw like a felon or a raptor or something like that. Very overstable on this hole. Throw it right at this cluster of trees we're just passing. Have it skip off the ground. Make a hard left turn. End up over here by the basket. Hole 15, 271 feet. Very similar to the last hole, just a bit longer. Little less obstruction in your way to start with, though. You don't have any major trees in the way until you get to kind of this cluster here at about 150 feet out or so, I'd guess. A good drive for someone of my skill level. I am an AM3 player. I'll end up in the pine trees that we just pine needles on the ground we just passed over. Putt up here, get your 3, and move on to the hardest hole on the course. Hole 16, 438 feet of tight pine tree lined hallways. This is absolutely a placement hole if I've ever seen one. You're going to need to throw something that's going to give you a little bit of a bend to the right. A great drive will end up somewhere in this little grassy area here that we're about to fly to. Fire a second shot basically right at this pine tree, but keep it low. You don't want to get up high. That's going to leave you a little too far away. A 3 is an amazing score for this hole. Most people are taking 4s and 5s. That is played as a par 3 typically, sometimes par 4 for female divisions and tournament layouts. Hole 17, a bit of a breather before the second hardest hole, hole 18. This hole, 164 feet, you're just going to want to bend something to the right, either with a forehand or an anhyzer or a lefty hyzer. Basic stock shot here, not very far. Depending on how your disc settles into the green, you might have a bit of an obstructed putt. I have made something, past the basket and have to putt back past underneath these branches from this big pine tree behind the basket. But outside of that, it's not too difficult. Nice aerial shot of hole 18 here, 412 feet. This is a long one to finish off with. Tough hole here. We've got a big left to right bend. You're going to really want to fire something out there that's going to give you some right turn. This marked up tree here on the left is obvious and gives you evidence of how hard and how far away you're going to need to really give the disc some push to get out here. Ending up around here is a great drive. Your second shot, you can just throw a hyzer up into the green. You definitely want to make sure you get up and over these bushes. These little fingers coming off of these bushes are eager to grab your disc and knock you down and give you a bad putt. There's nothing near the basket, so as long as you can get up and over those, you're safe for a putt. And that's your round. We want to give a huge thanks to the Rat Pack for coming out here and doing a ton of work all the time, always clearing brush, always cutting weeds, always repairing benches. Also, a huge thanks to Sweet Spot Disc Golf for making it possible for us to make these videos and put them out to you. And lastly, huge thanks to disc golfers like you. If you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and stay tuned for more. Thanks, everybody.